Republican Congressman Paul Ron chairs the House Budget Committee and was in the audience for last night's address. Congressman, good morning.
Morning, Charlie. How you doing?
Good. And how are you?
Doing fine.
The president just listed what would happen if, in fact, sequester takes place. There are automatic cuts. Do I hear you saying that you believe that's what's going to happen?
Well, I was simply predicting. The reason is because the president hasn't put a budget on the table. The Senate hasn't passed a budget in 4 years. We've been passing budgets. We passed 2 bills to prevent the sequester by cutting government spending in other places that we think were smart cuts. So don't forget, Charlie, that it's the president who first proposed the sequester. It's the president who designed the sequester as it is now designed. And it's the House who twice has passed legislation replacing the sequester. So because the Senate has not acted, because the president hasn't not put a proposal yet on the table, that is why I think the sequester will probably occur.
So if the president does not act, you're prepared to let it happen. Does he? If he doesn't present a budget,
it will happen. You see, you have to understand, Charlie, we have acted in the House. The Senate has not. The president has not. And therefore, that is why I think it's going to happen. The other point is, you got to remember, you have to budget to prevent these kinds of things from happening, these cliffs, these brinksmanship games. The Senate hasn't passed a budget in 4 years. The president has missed the budget deadline 4 of the last 5 times. His budget was due last week, and it looks like he may not even produce a budget for a month, missing the deadline by as much as a month. We're going to pass a budget on time. We have already done that, and that is how you fix these problems and prevent this kinds of brinksmanship. So we would love to see the other side of the aisle, the president and the Democrats in the Senate, actually put proposals on the table, which is, to me, how you get things done. We put our proposal on the table, they put theirs, then you start negotiating. That hasn't happened yet, and that's why we're frustrated about this situation.
Congressman, it's Nora O'Donnell. Nice to have you here with us.
Hey,
and I want to turn to the President's State of the Union last night. One of the areas where there was a very emotional moment was when the President talked about the victims of gun violence, named them and said, each person, they deserve a vote. At that point, even Speaker Boehner stood up and applauded. Do you agree there should at least be a vote on gun control and let people vote however they want?
Well, and as Speaker Boehner has said, we're focused on sequester, on the economy, and let's see what the Senate can pass and send over to the House. Then we would take that legislation up. You know, the other thing it was really nice to see was Brian Murphy, a man I've known for a number of years, a police lieutenant in Oak Creek who was shot 12 times, was standing there in the audience in much better health. That was wonderful to see a hero like that surviving that kind of brutality. What I'm a little concerned about is the president didn't mention the other things we ought to be looking at, Nora. What about a mental illness policy, a comprehensive mental illness policy to make sure that we can early identify these individuals? What's happening in our culture that produces this kind of evil? We shouldn't paper over those sincere problems, and I'd hate to see us miss this opportunity to do that and instead sort of recycle failed policies of the past. I hope this doesn't become a partisan football. I hope we get into these deeper issues, which really do beg our attention. Look, as a parent, I got to tell you, I want to fix this to the extent that we can, and we need to look into these deeper issues.
Congressman, I'd like to talk about you for a second. You and Marco Rubio have both been mentioned as presidential candidates in 2016. There are rumors that you may be interested in Speaker of the House. So when you look at your political career, what do you want to do next?
I want to stop the country from having a debt crisis. I want to make sure that my children inherit a debt-free nation and a better standard of living than the one my parents gave me. I want to work wherever I can to fix this future. Look, we have a debt crisis coming, and what I'm disappointed in the president is how he underplayed this. We've got to get our economy growing. We've got to get people back on the ladder of success, and that's what I'm focusing on. And where I can best do that, I'll have to decide later. I literally don't know where the best place to go to do that, but I feel like I have a pretty important job to do right now as chairman of the Budget Committee. Make sure we get this debt under control, balance the budget, grow the economy, reform the tax system, open up our energy exploration. That stuff creates jobs. That produces growth, upward mobility. That's what I'm focused on. So I'm more focused on policy and outcome than some political promotion.
Congressman Ryan, let's talk about dialogue for a second. The Speaker said of the President, he does not have the guts to act. You agree with the Speaker?
Yeah, I think in some ways I absolutely do. I think the speech we got last night was pretty par for the course for the President. Very liberal, fairly partisan, but he's taking to the road for the next few days in basically what I would call campaign mode. He seems to always stay in a campaign mode where he treats people of the other party as the enemy, not as partners. If he really wanted to get things done and govern, he would come here and work with us instead of campaigning all around the country. And so when you see that kind of activity, when you see these kinds of strawman arguments, when you see the president impugn the motives of those who have different ideas than he does, that is why the speaker makes comments like that.